I talk all the time about how anime is getting better and better every season, and Winter 2023 is the perfect proof of that. This is one of, if not the deepest seasons of anime I've ever seen. There's legitimately 40 shows I'm watching this season, and I'm gonna give y'all the 10 that I think are must-watches. Like in my fall 2022 video, there won't be any sequels on this list, but of course I'm watching all of them. There's a ton of isekai and fantasy this season too, and while that's my favorite genre, I recognize it's not for everyone, so I'll try to limit that genre's representation on the list, just to give representation to the other shows. That means this list isn't necessarily my top 10, since my actual list would have way more isekai and fantasy, but these are all shows that I think everybody should check out. Without further ado, let's get right into it. At number 10, we've got one of my most anticipated light novel adaptations, The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten. I've been planning to read the light novels for this for almost a year now, but just haven't had a chance to get around to it. It's one of the purest and cutest stories you'll see in this medium for sure. A cute, popular girl who everyone at school wants ends up becoming friends with the loner main character, and after seeing how bad his home life is, she starts preparing all his meals, cleaning for him, basically everything you could ever ask for. What's really special about the show though is how pure the relationship between Mahiru and Amane is, and there's little to no fan service, just a warm story that you can really relax to after a long day. Number 9 is the perfect show to fill that Takagi-san sized hole in all of our hearts. Kubo-san Won't Let Me Be Invisible. So Pine Jam really blessed us last season with Do It Yourself. It was one of my favorite shows of the year, like I talked about in my last video, and they're back at it again this season. We've seen the gimmick of cute girl teasing loner guy at school several times now, but 3 episodes in, I can definitely say that this is one of my favorites. The fact the main character is invisible to everyone around him and Kubo is the only one who acknowledges him is a pretty fun setup. The voice acting is great, art's beautiful as you would expect from Pine Jam, and it's really just eye bleach, which is all you can ask for from this type of show. If you enjoy Takagi-san and are sad that it's over after the movie, this is the perfect follow-up in my opinion. At 8, we've got one of the funniest anime this season, Tomochan as a Girl. This is genuinely one of the funniest premises to a show I've seen in some time. It revolves around a tomboy who wants her childhood best friend to finally see her as a girl, and despite her boyish personality, she's a really cute softie on the inside. The antics that have gone on in these first episodes and the length that Tomo's gone to get the main character's attention has been really funny. The juxtaposition of Tomo's tough exterior with her cutesy interior and desire to fit in as a girl is really fun to watch. The voice acting's been great, and I think if you're into muscular girls, which a lot of anime fans are apparently, or tomboys, or you just want to laugh at some crazy antics, I think this is a must watch. Making our way to number 7, we have a show that has really come out of nowhere and gripped me this season, China of the Great Snow Sea. Now I'm normally not into 3D CGI at all. I mentioned this like in my Dragon Ball video a while ago, and I really usually always hate CG in general, but not only is the CG good enough in this for me to overlook it, it's got a really interesting premise that hooked me from the first episode. I love a good post-apocalyptic story and adventure. The best way I could describe this is as Made in Abyss, but with a Yamamoto Kota OST instead of Kevin Penkin, which is a massive upgrade for me, especially after what he did with 86. This has actually become one of the shows that I look forward to the most every week because I just want answers for what's going on in the world. It's really interesting, a lot of cool lore and world building, and I'm looking forward to seeing how things with this one play out. Coming in at number 6 is another one of these shows that really came out of nowhere, icard. We've had a couple episodes to this show so far, and the best way I could describe it is as an even crazier Now You See Me. You know that movie with Jesse Eisenberg from back in the day where they used the crazy card tricks mixed with a bungo stray dogs. Basically in this world, there's cards that give the user magical abilities, and the goal of the main character's organization is to keep them out of the wrong hands. But honestly, that description doesn't do it justice. It's so wild and balls to the wall, you kind of just have to watch it. It reminds me a lot of kind of Akiba Maid War from last season. I think if you like that type of action, you'll really enjoy icard. It's got amazing animation, a unique premise, and some really cool characters that I think make this a must watch. Moving into my top 5 of the season, first up at number 5, I've got Iceman and his cool colleague. It's always nice to get adult or work-oriented romances. While high school romances are really cool, the older we get, I think it's easier to relate to shows like this rather than school settings. The art style in this is absolutely incredible. I think it was originally a little Twitter project for an artist who ended up turning it into a full-blown manga and now an anime, but you can really see the love that went into the designs in this show. I love the concept of a yokai workplace where people with different abilities come together and do regular office work. I've enjoyed seeing the two main characters bond and gradually take steps towards one another, and this has really just become one of my comfort watches of the week. A nice wholesome show you can come home to and enjoy. I can't wait to see how things play out with the ships in this show. Automata is a game that for the longest time people thought was unadaptable into anime form, and while we haven't seen how things will really play out with the multiple endings of the game, I've seen enough from the first couple episodes to be cautiously optimistic that A1 will handle things well. For starters, a lot of the same team that worked on 86 are working on this, and it seems like they've got a lot lot of input from Yoko Taro himself, which is really nice to see. It also feels like they're approaching the source material with a lot of love and care, which is always good to see with a video game adaptation that's so beloved like Nier. The anime original last episode that we got last week felt like a love letter to the story and a visual poem. I'm not gonna lie, the story is a bit confusing, but it's also confusing for people who just pick up the game for the first time, because at the time the Automata dropped, Nier Replicant hadn't been released in the West, so there was some missing lore for newcomers to the franchise. It seems like A1 are willing to put a unique spin on the story and make it digestible for anime onlys though. The character-driven story and philosophical questions that Automata poses made it one of the best games of the PS4 generation, and if A1 can successfully port that to anime form, I think we're going to be eating really good. Winding down the list at number 3 is one of the most slept on shows of the season, Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. I'm a sucker for cute female protagonists, and I think they're usually written way better than male self-insert style characters. They usually get better development, etc. So it's not really a surprise to me that all of my top 3 shows this season have female main characters. Sugar Apple Fairy Tale in particular is here because of the unique world and premise, the beautiful art style, and the really cute main character. I think the lore and world building with humans enslaving fairies is really interesting, and the main character following in her mom's footsteps and trying to bridge the gap between races is actually a really cool idea. It seems like there's some hints of romance going on too, which I'm always a sucker for, and the voice acting is a really nice compliment. I feel like this is one of the most unique shows of the season, and it's definitely a must watch. Number 2 is one that will probably surprise some people. I've got Sunlease, or Endo and Kobayashi Live as is known in English. That's my second favorite show of the season right now. This is easily one of the coolest setups I've seen in an anime. Instead of the usual isekai into an otome game, a boy and a girl are able to communicate with the characters in the game and give them advice on how to avoid bad endings of the game. The story takes place half in the real world, where the male main character is trying to win over his childhood friend and they bond over their love of visual novels, and half in the game world where the characters are students at a magical academy. I really like that it's a change up on the traditional otome formula, and it's also cool that we've been getting so many of these lately. I think Hamifa really opened the door for these types of shows, and hopefully we keep seeing more takes on this genre. And my number 1 must-watch show of the season has been a lock for me since the first episode, Tenten Kakime, or the magical revolution of the reincarnated princess, as is known in English. It's pretty easily my anime of the season right now, and I don't really see that changing. This one's been great for a number of reasons. For starters, none of the Yuri bait BS that we've become accustomed to lately. The series is straight up shoujo ai with a cool magical world, a good story, lovable main character, and a wholesome relationship. We got little teases of this last season with G-Witch, but this show is way more explicit with it, and the main character is straight up telling her dad that he's gay, and not having him chastise her or lash out about it was really cool. You just can't help but root for her as a character. Production values are through the roof as well. The show's art style and animation is some of the best you'll see this season. I really could sit here and go on and on about it all day, but I'll spare y'all that lecture. Just know, if there's one fantasy show that you check out this season, this needs to be it. Alright, like I said before, there are a ton of great shows this season. I just could not fit them all in this video. I wouldn't be able to do it justice. But just really quickly, a couple of honorable mentions. Reborn to Master the Blade is another reincarnation show with a female protagonist. That's pretty easily in my top 3 of the season. I didn't add it just because of the fact that if I added all the isekai I like, they would pretty much take up the whole list. It's another slight twist on the reincarnation formula, but instead of somebody being isekai'd from the real world, an old king dies and is reincarnated several centuries later in his own world, and society has totally changed and forgot about him. And the biggest change is he's a really cute girl now. This is some of the most confused my PP has been in a long time, and it's a really fun watch. I highly recommend everybody to check it out. Another show that's really worth mentioning is Hikari no O. This just aired last week, and I think it's unfortunately going to be overshadowed just because of all the shows that air on Saturday. First episode had movie quality, a really beautiful art style, an interesting premise where humans in a medieval setting can't use fire, and where humanity is hunted by fire demons. It's got a dark, gritty tone to it and a real sense of adventure to it. It's a shame that more people aren't on this, really. Once again, I really hope y'all found the list helpful and are able to pick up on some good anime this season. I know everyone doesn't have the time to watch as much anime as me, so I like to make these lists to help out as much as possible. If you liked the video, go ahead and subscribe if you're not already subscribed for more anime content. I do weekly uploads here, and leave a like on the video so it gets pushed out to more people. You can also check me out on my anime list, where I do weekly write-ups for every seasonal. Once again, guys, thanks. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see y'all on the next one.